Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Wednesday, January 11th. Ian Cameron, and joined today by someone else, indeed, after a couple solo jobs by me on the show this week. We've got Matthew Wright joining me here for this Wednesday edition of the show. He was on with us, I think, just a couple of weeks ago. Did a great job, back with us again today. Matt, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me back on, Ian. I'm doing great. I was actually down in Halifax for the World Juniors last week, which was a very, very cool experience. Probably the best sporting experience I've had to date, and still kind of recovering from that trip, but definitely looking forward to be back on the show and talking about, that trip and talking about some hockey tonight.
Yeah, no question. Talk a little bit about that experience for you with the World Juniors. I mean, just watching on television, the atmosphere sounded incredible. Imagine being there. No exciting hockey, nothing really going on there at the World Juniors. You only had multiple thrilling comebacks. You had a great Canada-U.S. game with controversy from the U.S. side in terms of a couple of goals got called back. You had an insane gold medal game where Czechia comes back from 2-0 down, ties it, as the entire country in panic mode that we might cough up the gold medal here. And then, of course, they get the Dylan Guenther golden goal to win the gold medal in overtime. Just an incredible experience. I'm sure you had a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was down for the New Year's game against Sweden, which was, probably the best New Year's I've ever had, being in a rink. So that was a cool experience. And then the quarterfinals was very nerve-wracking against Slovakia. Credit to the Slovaks. They played an awesome game. Their goaltender stood on his head. But to win that game, that was the big one to win that game, because I think the tournament's a different tournament if Canada's out before the semis. So the U.S.-Canada game, that was probably the loudest building I've ever been in. The first 10 minutes, U.S. was all over Canada. There was definitely a lot of nerves in the building, but it was loud. It was exciting. And the other games that Canada wasn't a part of were awesome as well. So that was the cool thing about Halifax, was they filled the rink for every game. Which a lot of the tournaments, World Juniors, you don't see that. You get the host country will have a full barn, and other than that, it's, hit or miss. But every game was full. It was funny. It was more nervous and more, I'd say, loud for the semifinal, Canada-US, than it was for the final. The final, it seemed like Canada kind of was in control the whole game. And people, and I was sitting lower bowl and talking with people, we were just having conversations during the final. Whereas in the semifinal, it was more nervous until in the final when it got 2-2. Even at 2-1, it was everyone still kind of felt good because Canada was in control of the game. But once Czechia scored to make it 2-2, that's when the tension started in the building. But I've never heard a building louder than when Canada scored in the final. It was. The building was shaking. I know people say that, but it really was shaking. It was cool to be a part of it. Luckily for me, the goal was about 15 rows in front of me, so I got a great view of the goal. And credit to Canada, credit to Czechia. It was all in all just a great tournament and a great experience. And I was glad I was able to be a part of it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it was a great time. I mean, Heave Away was played in the arena every time Canada scored. You could hear the thunderous clapping in unison every time they scored to that song that's played, and just the environment was crazy. All right, one last question about the World Juniors, then we'll move on to NHL stuff. Connor Bedard, watching him live in person, thoughts?
Incredible. It's one of those things where you hear about it. I heard, I've heard about him for years. You follow in the WHL a bit, what he's been doing, and you don't get to appreciate it until you get there and see what he did live. He's the best player I've seen live at the junior level. Oh, I don't know. I saw Crosby too, and when I was younger, I couldn't appreciate Crosby when I was younger because I was 10 years old watching Crosby come through at the junior age. But Bedard is amazing. His vision, I think, doesn't get enough credit. Yes, he's an incredible goal scorer, but his vision, even in the New Year's game, he made 3 or 4 passes against Sweden that you just couldn't believe it. I was shaking my head. Like, where do you come up with? He made a play, a hard rim to his strong side where he made a touch pass to the far side D off of a hard rim for the far side D to walk in for a shot. Like, it's just something I wouldn't even think of trying, and he made it look easy. He's so cool, calm, collected. He makes everyone else on the ice better. And what I love about him is he's not afraid to go to the dirty areas either. He's great
that.
off the perimeter. Yes, he has a great shot, but he'll go to the front of the net. He'll take a whack. He'll be creative. And if you notice him coming into faceoffs, he's always talking with his D, talking with his center. This is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to go to.
Chirping players on the other team too. He's got an edge to him. He does.
He's got an edge. And I love when he scores, other than the Slovakia goal in the quarters. When he scores, it's just, he's like, all right, let's go. Let's keep moving on. He's for the team. He just wants to be part of the team too. Like he doesn't want to be bigger than, he doesn't want it to be a Connor Bedard show. It was about Team Canada. And I think his teammates really, really like him too. I think that it's one of those things. Sometimes you get a star player or someone who's better than everyone else who's, some guys just don't like playing around that guy because they, maybe they're not the nicest person in the world because they're better. He seems to love his teammates. His teammates seem to love him. So I think he's going to be a great, any NHL team that wins the lottery, he's going number 1, and he's going to turn a franchise around. He's a little undersized, but his size doesn't affect him out there. And he threw a few really big hits as well, and he's not afraid of the contact. So all in all, better live than in person, better live than watching on TV. And if you get a chance to watch this guy in the WHL or in the NHL the next couple of years, he's a must watch. Buy that ticket, pay the extra price, go watch him play.
Yeah, totally worth it. No question. He's going to be one of those people that you go to the hockey game, you pay the ticket, even if it's outrageous, even if parking is too much, even if the concession stands are a ripoff, whatever the case may be, you find your way to get your fucking ass in the seat to watch that guy play. That is exactly what you do when it's Connor Bedard on the marquee. I agree with that. Like, just worth the price of admission all by itself. Crazy. Speaking of the World Junior Hockey Championship, it's like some of these junior teams, they're giving up basically their life savings in trades for some of these kids recently. Just all this activity. Shane Wright gets landed by the Windsor Spitfires. Of course, out west, Olin Zellweger, who's a great player who was on that World Junior team. It's like they gave up a king's ransom for this guy. It's just unbelievable the price you got to pay to pick up some stud kid, young, talented prospect you're playing in junior.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with Kamloops hosting the Mem Cup, I understand why they made the trades they did. They kind of, I'd say, mortgaged the next 4 years of their team, of their franchise for that Memorial Cup. But the amount of picks that go into these trades now in junior hockey, it's pretty crazy. But it's what you have to do as a junior team is, if you're going to be in, you got to be all in for junior. And then if you're going to be bad, be really bad. You can't kind of tread water in junior hockey. If you have picks, don't be afraid to use them, because especially with Zellweger, he's got another year left. So maybe you flip him next year. And the St. John Sea Dogs are a great, idea for that, where if you look in the queue this year, the St. John Sea Dogs are in last place. They're completely rebuilding. They've traded away a couple pieces that they had left from the Mem Cup. And in 3 or 4 years, they're going to be a really good team. But are they going to struggle for this year and next year? Yeah, they are, because they don't have first-round picks. They don't have second-round picks. But in junior hockey, you have to, if you want to win, you have to go all in. And it's going to, you're going to feel it for the couple of years following that. So you better win. But you're going to pay the price, and you have to pay the price to get those elite players. But it makes it fun. It's cool to see that when there's big moves happening. Like, sometimes, you think they gave up too much, but I'd rather see someone give up too much than no action at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you got to be. And it's funny you mentioned the St. John Sea Dogs, last year's Memorial Cup champions, broke the fucking heart of my team, Hamilton Bulldogs, in the final last year. And Hamilton's in the same boat. Like, they're selling off this year. They're selling all their key pieces. All the big guns from last year's Memorial Cup team are pretty much gone. So it's the exact same thing. that they're going through right now. All right, let's turn our attention to NHL. Last night, we'll recap last night's action first in terms of NHL action. Tampa Bay 6-3 over Columbus. Man, that game was nearly perfect for me. Tampa first period puck line cash. Tampa -2.5. The alternative puck line +110 cashed. Nearly got that same game parlay where I had the Bolts money line -1.5, -2.5, and -3.5. It was like a ladder bet, if you will, and fell just short. But definitely it ended up 6-3. Still a very good result for me betting wise. And it was just very simple. John Cooper was pissed after the Winnipeg loss, not happy. And the Lightning certainly came out that way strong and ended up rolling to victory over Columbus last night by a score of 6-3 in that game. The response I expected from the Tampa Bay Lightning in that one. Great game between the Wild and the Rangers, 4-3 shootout win for the Rangers. Great game back and forth there. New Jersey, how about the comeback for them in the third period? Against the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, it started at the end of the second period when they were down 3-1. Bang, bang. They tie it up with 2 quick goals, and then they end up winning 5-3 against Carolina. 2 wins in a row now for the Devils. My plan is to ride this team a little bit. I cashed a ticket with them as underdogs last night at Carolina. My goal is maybe to ride this team a little bit, that they've gone through their woes. They've gone through the abyss of their just wretched losing streak, and now they're pulling themselves back out of it now. That's back-to-back wins, comeback victories as well against both the Rangers and the Hurricanes. So signs of life and turning the ship in the other direction, if you will, for the New Jersey Devils. 4-3 Seattle over the Buffalo Sabres. We got some last-minute magic to cash the over in that game with the Buffalo goal at 4-3 to turn that into a win. Unbelievable stuff with Vancouver and Pittsburgh. 5-4, Pittsburgh gets the victory over Vancouver. Vancouver goes up 3-0 in the first 10 minutes. And sure as to shit, and then the very next 10 minutes, they completely blow the 3-0 lead. It's gone, just like that. 3-3, and it ends up 5-3 in favor of Pittsburgh. 5-4, I should say, in favor of Pittsburgh. Just awful stuff from the Canucks. The penalty kill was bad. You can't protect the lead. It's been the same old event for the Vancouver Canucks this season. How about Detroit? 7-5 over Winnipeg. Kind of concerned about the spot for Winnipeg, that maybe a little bit of a flat spot. That sure started that way for them. They really dominated the latter stretches of the game, but they couldn't buy a goal with the chances they had. Husso was very good in net. It was not one of Connor Hellebuck's better games. So put it all together, it was a 7-5 win for Detroit. No panic with Winnipeg. It was a bit of a flat spot. They played like it. They're fine. I'm sure they'll be looking to bounce back next time out. Dallas 2-1 in a shootout over the Islanders. 4-2 San Jose over Arizona. Very disappointing result for Arizona. Good thing I split it up this time with them. First period and full game money line. We at least cashed the first period with Arizona, and San Jose with the 4-2 victory in that game. Calgary, more disappointment from them. I mean, they have a 3-1 lead going into the third. You think they're going to be fine. They're playing a very injury-riddled St. Louis team, especially on the blue line. They end up coughing up the 3-1 lead, 3-3 with 2 quick Blues goals in the third period. Couldn't stop the Robert Thomas line in that game. And we'll play some Sutter sound. This is becoming now a daily occurrence here, especially after a bad game. We got to hear what Daryl Sutter has to say here on the Ice Guys show, one of our favorites. And they end up losing, of course, 4-3 in overtime to the Blues. And very frustrating that, actually it could have been worse for me with the Colorado Avalanche, because they were my best bet yesterday. Colorado -125. They lose to Florida 5-4. I was livid with that first period from Colorado. That after you finally snap the losing streak against Edmonton, you're supposed to get momentum from that, and you play like that in the first period. It was very disappointing to see that, but they got better as the game goes on, and they did their typical third period at home when they're trailing. They roar back, they tie the game, an unfortunate late penalty, and the Panthers get the power play goal in that game, and a 5-4 win over the Avalanche. But it could have been worse, because while the money line did not cash, I was on the Avs team total over 3.5. It got there with that third period offensive surge, and then I also added the over in the game, and thankful I did that. And that one cashed as well. So it ended up being a better betting result in that game than I thought. All right, let's get to Sutter, and then we'll get Matt's thoughts on last night's games. But we played Sutter audio and video yesterday after the Chicago loss. And, yesterday's game was another frustrating game for the Calgary Flames. One of those situations where they were certainly good enough to win that game and played, I think, better than St. Louis for the majority. And then a bad third period gets them and they end up losing. And as you can see here, not the happiest of moods from the head coach.
Hard time handling the Thomas line.
All night long,
Yeah, they scored the power play goal to start. And they scored the third goal against our veteran top line, and they scored in overtime.
Taking a veiled shot at the top line.
What happened on the overtime goal?
Huberdeau turned the puck over, cutting the net, and Rass probably would prefer to be in the middle of the ice.
Veiled shot at Jonathan Huberdeau. You got to love it when he's mad.
Sort of the third. How did you think your team responded to that?
How did we respond to it? Well, we got it to overtime. It was 3-3 right away. Sort of like the start of the game.
Why do you think those two were close?
What did I think? Why?
Yeah.
Well, why would be? I'd say the first one is just a friggin' rebound. The second one is against it's one line against the Thomas line. We turned the puck over, then the wingers didn't take the middle. So it was line versus line. That's why.
Is there any sort of pattern emerging? Overtime record's really been not good this year.
You got to score. You got to have possession. You can't turn pucks over. There's a pattern. We scored one, and lost 8. That's the pattern.
And you've talked a lot about in overtime. The key is not these long stretch passes. Keeping it.
Classic.
Possessing the puck.
There wasn't long stretch passes.
No, I know this time, but I'm saying.
I mean, we go over it lots of them, but then you gotta do it. You gotta be able to execute it and do it. I mean, we switched around with different guys starting. You're trying to, you weren't really sure on the road who the other team's going to start. So we've done different things. So we just went head to head tonight. So Kadri, Huberdeau, and Anderson against their 3 big guys. It's up to them then.
There he is, the one and only Daryl Sutter, not exactly happy with that loss last night. Calling out everybody, Kadri, Huberdeau, talking about, a little agitated. And Matt, we'll get your thoughts on last night. But Calgary is one of those teams where they are statistical darlings to everybody. The metrics community, people that look at their advanced numbers, and they see all these great numbers for Calgary. And it's not resulting in the win-loss record that they should have.
Yeah, something's off there right now. They just can't seem to find their mojo, for lack of a better term. They're inconsistent, and their top guys are underperforming, and they just don't seem to have the chemistry that they need to be successful. And they'll put a couple wins together, and then they won't be able to keep it going. They can't seem to put any long streaks together. And Markstrom hasn't had the year he's hoped for. It all seems just hasn't come together yet. Luckily enough, they're still, in a position that they can make the playoffs. As we know, you just need to get in the playoffs, but it definitely hasn't been the year that they are hoping for. And obviously you can see that coaching isn't happy with things. And, the message gets stale sometimes. I think maybe with Sutter, for some guys, it's kind of wearing off right now. It just seems that, what they're preaching and what they're doing seems to be two different things. And they have such a good team, though. Like we just said, you look at their roster, you look at, the analytics, and, from all sides of things, they're a team that you think should be, Western Conference Finals at least, but it just hasn't come together yet. It's like you said, there's still a lot of the season left. They still have really good players. Do I think they shake it up at the trade deadline? I don't think they do. I think they try and keep it pat. Maybe they look to bring in, another D, but I don't think there's a lot of room to do anything. I think you're kind of with this team. This is who you have, and you got to find a way to make it work. So, right now, Sutter's not afraid to call out his top guys. Obviously, his top guys aren't performing, but, Sutter's not afraid to get fired. There's a guy, he'll say whatever he wants, right? Yep. He'll go back and work on the farm. Like, he's not afraid to lose his job. So he'll call out whoever. And obviously, he doesn't think his top guys have been good enough. And in fairness, when you put your top guys against the other team's top guys and they beat you, it's it is what it is, right?
It's
So
fact when it plays out on the ice. Exactly.
exactly. So to me, are his comments justified? Yes. Should he be probably saying them? He seems to be saying them a little bit too much on a consistent basis. But the team's underperforming, and they have to do something to change it up.
Yeah, and you're right. They're not blowing up this roster. This is the roster they put together for a playoff run. It's probably frustrating that, it's taken them this long to gain consistency, and they're still searching for it. And it's now January 11th, and now you have to start asking yourself, as we're at the halfway mark of the season now, and we're approaching the All-Star break, are they going to find that consistency? Are they going to find their A game? They've got a few more months to get to it, but they better hope they get to it at some point, because look, they're not assured of a playoff spot either. There's a scenario where they could miss the playoffs, and for a team that we all assumed was automatically going to be in the playoffs this year, now we're not so sure if that's going to be the case. All right, let's go to tonight's card. We've got 4 games on tap. We will begin in Philly with the Capitals and the Flyers. We've got Washington -180 road favorites. The total 6 here, pretty much across the board. Flyers off a shutout victory over the Buffalo Sabres on Monday night. A very strong bounce-back game from them after a 6-2 loss on home ice to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the game before that. We'll see if they can continue to build on that. And they've actually, other than that Leaf game, they are 5-1 in their last 6 games here, the Philadelphia Flyers. Capitals off a 1-0 shutout victory over Columbus, one where they really didn't play all that well. It is worth noting that it just wasn't exactly their best game offensively. They weren't clicking. They only had 18 shots on goal, so it definitely wasn't the best game necessarily from them. Nick Backstrom, Tom Wilson, were back in the lineup in that game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Keep in mind, that probably had some effect on Washington's performance in that game. I mean, these are guys that, have not played all season for them. So when you look at this game today, clearly they should be a little bit more, shake the rust out of their system type of feel to them going into this game tonight after getting that first game under their belt. That should definitely help them a little bit going into this one. With the way Philly's playing right now, it's not outlandish to maybe take a shot with them at +155. I don't hate that, but I do have the feeling here that the Flyers, in this game could probably find the scoreboard a little bit or light the lamp a little bit, because if you actually look at the way they've been scoring offensively here lately, I mean, you're only asking them on home ice to score 3 goals. In this game. The team total does intrigue me. Actually, it's probably the better way to look in this game in comparison toward the money line, because you're just always worried that, Washington is a team that's going to be able to light the lamp here in this one. And Carter Hart, did not play well against Toronto in his last start. Remember that we saw Samuel Ersson in net when they got the shutout against Buffalo. So now it's back to Carter Hart. He'll be looking for a little bit of redemption here tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers. We don't have a goalie confirmed yet for Washington who's going to be in net, but we assume it's probably going to be Darcy Kemper here in this game. But Hart on the meantime will look to bounce back following that tough game against Toronto. 6 goals allowed on 35 shots for him in that game. And look, he slumped, 1-3 in the last 4 starts for him, and the goals against above 4 in this one. So, I look at this game here. I definitely lean a little bit to the full game over, but I think I like that taking a shot with the Flyers team total a little bit. Over 2.5, just asking them to score 3 goals. The Toronto game, which was a bad game from their standpoint, they only scored 2. But every other recent game, they have scored at least 4 goals. Remember, they had 5 against Carolina as well in the last game before the Christmas break. So I think that team total is the way I'm playing it. Flyers over 2.5. Any thoughts here, Matt? Capitals, Flyers.
Yeah, I think it's a very intriguing game because you don't normally get 2 teams coming in on shutout wins. It's a weird situation where, I think it is going to be Kemper tonight by what it's sounding like, and he stood on his head last game. And like you said, Washington did not play very well, and it's tough when you bring 2, top 6 forwards back into your lineup. It moves everything around. It shakes up the lines. It really does throw off things, and it's hard to get that back that first game. Sometimes people think it can be a jolt of fresh energy, but you're not bringing 1 guy, you're bringing 2 guys back. So it really does mix things up. I expect a much better game at a Washington tonight than what we saw a couple nights ago. I think we see Washington put some goals on the board. I do like that 2.5 goals over for Philly. Philly actually has been, like you said, playing better hockey. I think sometimes Philly gets lost in the Torts comments where people just think it's a tire fire there all the time, but they actually are playing better hockey. Kevin Hayes, for all those comments, back and forth, and the All-Star game comments and the Torts. I think people are getting lost in the All-Star game comments by Torts. And I think I look at Kevin Hayes to maybe have a point tonight. I look at Konechny as well to have a point tonight. I think the Flyers are going to have a good night. I do lean the over in this game as well, but it is tough when, like you said, Kemper stood in his head. He's a goalie who, when he gets hot, he can be real hot. I don't know. This is a game that could see some overtime potentially. You could see a 2-2 going into OT or a 3-3 going into OT. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't see either team blowing each other out here. I see it a close game. I also look at Ovi, second game back with Backstrom here. Get that connection back together, get the power play feeling good. I look at Ovi to have a point tonight. If you can get good money on that, I would search some books and look for Ovi for a point. But to me, I think this is one I'm going to maybe look player props over game props.
Yeah, player props, I agree. I think it's not a bad game to look at in terms of player props. I think Washington could get to 4. It's just weird with Philly. Philly can sometimes, and Hart too, he can be great at home. He hasn't been nearly as great lately. So I'm probably going to do a full game over and Philadelphia team total over split. You're right. In terms of the props, there's a lot of interesting options. For Philly, I've mentioned Frost. I've mentioned Lawton, Cates, Farabee, Konechny, Tippett. Tippett's been very good this season for the Flyers. I mean, you can always go multiple directions with their props. And for the Capitals side of things, you look at what they've got. They've obviously got Backstrom back, Wilson back, shaking up the lines a bit. Lars Eller's moved up to the second line. Keep an eye on that. Maybe he's got some value in his props. And I keep saying Sonny Milano, they've still got him with Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, and they just don't price him like Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, even though he's on that top line. And he's scored 2 goals and 3 points in the last 4 games for Washington. So I think it's probably worth a look there in terms of his props as well. All right, next up, we've got Nashville and Toronto. We've got Toronto minus 180, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. You look at the Leafs coming off 2 straight victories in their last couple of games against Detroit and Philadelphia after 2 losses before that against Seattle and St. Louis. The Leafs now hosting this Nashville Predators team that might be playing their best hockey right now of the season. That being said, they've also been outplayed in a bunch of these games they've won, especially the last few. I mean, the Carolina game, it goes without saying, UC Saros was just spectacular. He is the sole reason they won that game. They were outshot 67-25, but they get a 5-3 win. They beat Montreal before that 6-3. But again, the Canadians are playing with a very basically an AHL blue line. Let's call it like it is. That's exactly what Montreal's had lately. Then they had a 3-2 win against Washington. Again, they got a little bit outplayed and outshot in that game, but still good goaltending. It was Lankinen, actually, that night who played well. And then their last game against Ottawa, another gem from Saros. I mean, really, his last 2 starts, he's given up just 3 goals on 105 shots. He has been absolutely scintillating, and a shutout win for Saros, 3-0 against Ottawa on Monday night. So they will look to keep it rolling here. I think that this is a live underdog, honestly, with Nashville here in the plus 160, plus 165 range. Leafs have ruled out Austin Matthews for this game. He's dealing with a little bit of a minor injury. It's going to be day-to-day. It's not anything that's going to be long-term, but an undisclosed injury that he will not play tonight as a result. So there's going to be some shuffling with the Leafs lineup going into this game tonight. Looks like from the recent line combinations, we see Tavares, Marner, going to be still with Calle Yarncroke, who, by the way, not only has been effective since going up the lineup to the top 6 the last few weeks, but gets to play his former team, the Nashville Predators, one of his former teams. So there's no question about it that Yarncroke will be on my list of goal props and player props tonight from this game. Bunting with Nylander and Engvall. I think Pierre Engvall is a little undervalued, moving to play with Nylander and Bunting tonight in this game. If you look at Engvall's recent numbers, he has scored 4 goals for the Leafs and notched 5 points for them in the last 8 or 9 games. And keep in mind that was down the lineup. And this is now an opportunity for him to play in the top 6 tonight with Bunting and Nylander. So I think that could be a prop worth looking at for the Leafs tonight in this game. Bobby McMahon, by the way, will make his NHL debut tonight. He's the one that will be in the lineup with Matthews out. He's the one that draws in. He'll play on the third line, it looks like, with Kampf and with Kerfoot. Nashville, on the other hand, look, in terms of their offense, I keep going back to the well with Thomas Novak here for the Nashville Predators. Keeps on rewarding me. He scored 3 goals, and he has 5 points in the last 6 games for the Nashville Predators. He's been one of the best, most undervalued player prop options lately for them. Same with Juuso Parssinen, more so points for him than goals. But boy, he has certainly made the most of being on the top line, getting more minutes. He has 4 points in the last 3 games for the Predators, all assists for Juuso Parssinen playing in between Philip Forsberg, and Colton Sissons, by the way, has moved on up as well to the top line, and he's made the most of it as well. How about 3 goals and 5 points in the last 6 games for Colton Sissons playing on the top line? So another undervalued player prop potentially there for Nashville. So it's a very good player prop type of game. A lot of situations where you got guys playing up the lineup that aren't accustomed to being there, and you get value in their props as a result. So good game for props. I like Nashville, though, here. I'm going to take a shot with them as a big dog, plus 160. You could argue their goaltending's been every bit as good, if not better, right now than Toronto's the last few games as well, with Saros just on the top of his form, especially in his last 2 starts. What do you think here, Matt, Nashville and Toronto?
Yeah, I actually like your Nashville going into Toronto. I'm looking at the under in this game, kind of like what you talked about. The goaltending for Nashville has been awesome, both guys, but what you see Saros, and I believe Saros is getting the start tonight. And if Saros is in tonight, I'm 100% on the under. And for Toronto, like you said, with Matthews out, with the shuffling of the lines, Tavares has been great. Tavares has had a great year. You got to kind of tip your cap to what Tavares has done this year, kind of a bounce back year, even though he didn't have a terrible year last year, a bounce back year. If you're looking for maybe a player prop on Toronto, you could look at Tavares. I like Tavares tonight, but to me, this game screams under. I do like the Colton Sissons moving up to the top line. If you can get some value there, if you can get, 340, 4 plus 400, I mean, you might be able to get a real good number on Sissons tonight. I would look at Sissons, but to me, this game screams under. The way Nashville plays defensively, they play a 1-2-2. They do not try. They try and beat you 1-0. They try and beat you 2-1. And with Toronto, especially with Matthews out, with the line shaken up, I do like the under in this game. And I also think potentially Nashville could pull out a close win, maybe an OT win, maybe a 2-1 win, maybe a 3-2 win, but I don't see it going over 6 tonight. So I'm on the under for this game, but I do like potentially Tavares to get one for the Leafs.
All right, there we go. Tavares props for Toronto here for the Leafs to make an impact. Like I say, I like the props involving I'm going back to Cali, and I love singing that, as you can tell. Cali Yarncroke for the Leafs against his old team. He's been really good. He's had 3 points, by the way, in the win against Philadelphia on Sunday. It was a huge game from him in the victory over the Flyers. What did he have in that game? No, he had a goal. No, he had just 1 point. Sorry, he had 1 point, but he's been did have 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists, and he's been very good in the point production category, especially. You look at Yarncroke here, the last 9 games, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, and 11 points. So that's 11 points in the last 9 games for Cali Yarncroke. So that has been just terrific to see that. And like I say, he's been one of the better prop options lately, value-wise, for the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right, so that is the first part of the card. It's only a 4-game card. We've got 2 more games to go. We'll be back, Matt and I, to preview those right after we hear from our great sponsors, Gramco.
All right, whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products such as vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you, and is also available at many American retailers as well. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. If you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you get 25% off of any order, and all orders on the site that are $50 and higher are shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, we are back here on the ice, guys. 2 games left here on this card for this Wednesday night. We'll go to out west now to the Duck Pond, Honda Center, Edmonton Oilers, Anaheim Ducks. It is Edmonton minus 250, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Oilers off that very emotional cauldron, if you will, against the LA Kings. That game definitely had way more intensity to it than just your average run-of-the-mill regular season game, at the beginning of January. Clearly, you can tell there was animosity built up with those two teams from all the playoff history last year, and already they played once earlier in the regular season. Very physical, 3 fights in the game. And what I loved about that game is it wasn't fights because, you hit my guy clean hit. You got all of a sudden drop the gloves now. That's the way it is these days, it seems, in the NHL. No, the 3 fights were simply, hey, we don't like you, you don't like us, and we're getting sick and tired of each other. And that's what I loved about the 3 fights with the Oilers and Kings game the other night. What the Oilers won't like is the way they played once again defensively. The penalty kill was horrendous. The LA Kings power play did whatever they wanted in that game against the Edmonton Oilers. And then on the flip side, Edmonton's usually very good power play, which had scored in 3 straight games, was held to 0 for 6 in the 6-3 loss to the LA Kings the other night. So it was a special teams nightmare for the Oilers. Of course, it was a rough night for Skinner, who's been very good, but not one of his better nights. And Jack Campbell comes in. Jack Campbell actually didn't play that bad, I thought, when he came into the game. And look, Jack Campbell's going to be in net tonight, it looks like, for the Edmonton Oilers in this game. The reason for that is obviously Skinner away from the team for the birth of his first child for the next 2 games. So he's not only going to miss this game tonight in Anaheim, but San Jose on Friday. That will also be Jack Campbell, who will be in net that night as well, with Skinner away from the team. So again, we've said this a million times, Matt, with Jack Campbell here. He's going to have an opportunity to, I don't say get his number 1 job back, but at least make a case, a strong statement to Jay Woodcroft and the Oilers coaching staff that give me more starts. Give me more of the net. I'm ready to turn this shit around. I'm ready to get my season back on track following maybe the most disastrous start you could imagine for a guy with his new team. Here's another opportunity for him here tonight against the Anaheim Ducks, who you can't make heads or tails of this team in terms of what you're going to see one night to the next. They've been schizophrenic. They've had these nights, believe it or not, lately where they have shown up from time to time. They beat Vegas in a shootout 3-2. They shut out a very good Dallas team. And in both games, John Gibson, who was in net for those games, was spectacular. They come back and they beat San Jose by a score of 5-4 in overtime. And then they have games like they had against Philadelphia, lifeless, lethargic, beaten down 4-1. The game against Nashville, lifeless, lethargic, beaten down 6-1. The Boston game just recently, lifeless, lethargic, beaten down again 7-1 at the hands of the Boston Bruins. So it's a very schizophrenic team. It's a hard team to bet, and still a team I'd probably rather bet against than bet on right now. Still without, of course, Drysdale on the blue line for them. But the big key is, or the big potential absence tonight is Trevor Zegras. Illness is what he is dealing with right now. His status for tonight's game is up in the air. He's going to be a game time decision. Obviously, still a pretty good season for Trevor. 12 goals, 19 assists, and 31 points in 41 games for him this year with the Anaheim Ducks. May not be in the lineup due to this illness, so keep an eye on that. But I'm thinking of some way to bet Edmonton here. I mean, look, if Jack Campbell's playing one of the worst teams in the NHL, and he actually played fairly okay, in my opinion, in relief of Skinner in the game against LA the other night. I mean, he's still a guy that had a great run, more good than bad in Toronto. Can he find it? He's playing one of the worst teams in the NHL. And look, it's not like Anaheim's been lighting up the scoreboard other than the 5-4 game against San Jose. This is a team that scored 1 against Boston, 2 against Dallas, 1 against Philly, and 1 against Nashville. So they haven't exactly been lighting it up offensively, this Anaheim team. It's the perfect opportunity for Jack Campbell. If he's ever going to find a great game in net for the Oilers, you would think it could be tonight here in this one. The over series history can't be ignored. I mean, we've seen 7 straight overs head-to-head between the Oilers and the Ducks. So I am on the over just because of that. I am honestly concerned about the lack of scoring lately for the Ducks. And I'm concerned that Jack Campbell steps up and plays maybe his best game of the season. But it also wouldn't shock me if it's the same old mediocre Jack Campbell and there's a goal or two that gets past him that he probably should stop, because he has had, it seems, in the majority of his games this year, that one goal that he probably should have back. And he's got to try to avoid that here tonight. But series history is too strong to ignore. So I am on over 6.5 in this game. And as far as the money line's a little too or the team total on the Oilers, I should say, is a little bit too juiced here. 3.5 minus 165. I might take a shot here with the first period on the Oilers here, -0.5 plus 110. It's really about the only value that there is. The regulation price isn't even all that great. So probably going to be an over 6.5 and a little bit on the first period puck line plus 110 is what I'll be looking at here in this one. If you like the full game puck line, by the way, in this game, you're looking at about -110 even money. Like I say, I'll roll the dice with the first period puck line instead, because you're getting a little better price at plus 110. What do you think here, Matt? Oilers and Ducks.
This is a game where you could see a whole lot of different scores. It's a tough game to figure out. Like you said, the Ducks, they can't put the puck in the net, and especially if Zegras is out tonight, you might not see them put anything on the board. That being said, you made the case for Campbell. He needs a win tonight. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, you need to find a way to win this game by 2 or 3 goals, especially playing the worst team, one of the worst, if not, one of the worst teams in the league. This is one you need to walk into the rink with 2 points. I look at Connor McDavid to put one in, and you're probably not getting great odds on McDavid to score tonight, but you're playing the worst team in the league. You got the players probably going to win the MVP. To me, this is one where you bet Connor McDavid to score. Connor McDavid's looking to win the Rocket Richard this year. For him to win the Rocket Richard, which probably looks like he's going to, but for him to definitely win it, he needs to score against bad teams. He scores a lot against good teams. I know he scores a lot against bad teams. This is one where Connor McDavid needs to put a goal in the net tonight. So I look at McDavid. Like you said, Oilers money line. It's hard to say what could happen because we just don't know what we're going to get from the Oilers, and we don't know what we're going to get from the Ducks. So it's crazy enough to say this could be a 2-1 hockey game. I don't see it happening, but it wouldn't surprise me at the same point if it does. But for the Ducks, if you're going to be bad, be really bad. You don't want to say that, but from a management side of things, I'm sure they'd be okay with finishing last in the league and having the best shot at Bedard. But for the Ducks, it's especially with Zegras gone, they just don't have enough offense to put pucks in the net. So I do look at Edmonton to win this game. I don't know if I'm going to throw anything on the money line just because, like you said, it's not paying very well. So, and it's risky too. And this could be a game where you see a 4-1 win for Edmonton. So the over does scare me a little bit. But that being said, it has been 7 straight overs, and I like riding with overs. I like going when there's weird things that happen, like Toronto can't win in Arizona for 20 years, whatever it is. This is one too where 7 straight overs, you kind of have to take the over, don't you? Because if you don't, you feel like you missed out on easy money if you don't take the over tonight. So I probably will take the over, even though I don't love the over. And Anaheim just can't score goals. So Edmonton needs to win this game. Hopefully it's 6-1, but it's one that Edmonton needs to win, and I'm on McDavid to get one tonight.
Yeah, you're right. Anaheim's lack of offense lately concerns me about the over, but if I see, and exactly what you said, I see 7 straight head-to-head meetings going over the total, I don't question it. I go with it. It's with any 2 teams. If I were to see, let's say it's Chicago and Arizona, What if 8-0 to the over with those two teams in the last 8 head-to-head meetings? I'd be betting the over in the 9th meeting. You got some, because sometimes that's just what you get when two certain teams collide. And it's not, and plus two, it's worth noting, for these recent head-to-head meetings, okay, they went from Tippett to Woodcroft, but they're both kind of similar in the way they approach the game. So the coaching, and they've had Dallas Aikens this whole time here in Anaheim. So it's been pretty much similar coaches for the most part during this 7-0 over run. So yeah, that is not a bad option from Brent in our chat here, mentioning that the Oilers and over 5.5 combo is actually, it's plus 108 at Pinnacle for that. And that's probably the way to bet it. If you want to try to bet Edmonton, you either have to look at a first period puck line or a full game puck line, or you could go that combo bet, Edmonton money line and over 5.5 in this game, which is actually not bad. It's actually not a bad look in this game at all. The value's there. It's plus 108. Edmonton should win the game. And if they win the game, it doesn't matter if they win by a goal or they win by 6 goals. And then you get the over at 5.5 instead of 6.5. So that Edmonton money line and over 5.5, plus 108, plus 110, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good way to approach this game, in my opinion. No question about that. As far as the props go in this one, I'll tell you what, he fought in the last game. I want him to start scoring goals with the position in the lineup that he's been placed, Klim Kostin, but he did get into a fight the other night against Brendan Lemieux. Hopefully he can start putting the puck in the net. We've bet him a couple times. He hasn't found it yet, but it looks like Kostin with McDavid and Yamamoto might be your top line, and Kyler Yamamoto moving up to the top line might give you some value. And Ryan McLeod looks like he's moving up to the second line with Draisaitl and Hyman. So there's another one. Ryan McLeod moving up the lineup could be some value with his props tonight. The only one I would bet for Anaheim tonight is McTavish, because McTavish is starting to find it. He has actually been one of their best offensive players lately. He's been going up to the number 1 power play unit. If you look at McTavish in the last 3 games, he has 3 goals and 6 points in the last 3 games for the Anaheim Ducks. So there is no doubt Mason McTavish is getting a level of comfort now going. He is the one that's been basically carrying things a little bit for the Ducks lately. Whatever offense they have gotten the last few games, McTavish has played a big part in it. So no question, his props definitely worth a look tonight. All right, final game of this short Wednesday slate. San Jose Sharks, LA Kings. We've got LA minus 210, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this one. Tough spot for San Jose. Now, they did play a pretty solid road game last night against Arizona, 4-2 win, but now they're on a back-to-back, have to go to LA tonight. Rested Kings team off the 6-3 win against Edmonton on Monday night. So it definitely does favor the Kings. They have won 3 in a row against the Sharks after the Sharks kind of had a hex on the Kings for the longest time, where San Jose had dominated LA, and suddenly LA is starting to turn the tables a little bit. They have won 3 in a row against the San Jose Sharks. Something that is definitely worth noticing here with this game tonight is you look at San Jose, and in the last 6 games that they have played, 4 of them they have been trailing after the first period. So I'm definitely interested in a Kings first period puck line look, again, because that look probably is a little bit better than the full game puck line because of the pricing. For full game puck line with the Kings tonight would be minus 1.5 plus 120. You get that first period puck line here with the Kings. You're talking upwards of plus 140 with that one. So that's and the thing is too, LA's been a hot starting team. So you have San Jose. They've been kind of getting off to these slow starts, falling behind in the first period of hockey games lately. You look at the LA Kings. They were up 2-1 on Edmonton after the first period, up 1-0 on Vegas after the first period. Even the game they lost to Boston at home, 5-2, they were leading 1-0 after the first period. The 3-2 win against Dallas, they were up 1-0 after the first period. So it has been consistently the Kings starting strong. 2-1. Another game they lost to Philadelphia at home, 4-2, but they were leading 2-1 after the first period. So again, the Kings have definitely been coming out strong, playing great in the first 20 minutes. And I think that's the best way to bet this game, is just Kings first period. San Jose's not had great first periods. LA has been repeatedly getting ahead and carrying the lead into the first intermission. So Kings first period puck line for me, -0.5, good price, +140. And I think that's definitely the best way to go about it here in a game where, again, -210 favorite, the better team, the better spot because they've got the rest advantage. Sharks are on the back-to-back. I think Kings first period puck line, at least in my opinion, the best way to approach it. What do you think here, Matt? Sharks and Kings.
Yeah, like you said, this is a game where the Sharks are coming in after playing very good last night, but they are not a great hockey team, and it's tough to put two games, back to back, put two solid efforts together. And like you said, the Kings have been starting very hot lately. And like you said, I think 4 or 5 straight games with the lead after the first. I look at a guy you love, Iafallo, on the Kings. I look at him potentially to put one in tonight. He's been great for the player props. The Kings are really starting to find themselves as a team. They didn't start off well this year, but it seems that they're finding themselves as a team. The goaltending's been better. They're playing good hockey, and they're moving up the standings in the Western Conference. I think they're second now in their division, and they're a tough team, and the LA is a tough spot to play. They don't get enough credit for it. It's not an easy barn to walk into. And San Jose coming off the game last night, like we said, good win, but it's not easy for a bad team to put two good efforts together, especially on a back-to-back without a day or two off. So to me, I look at the Kings to win. I really don't like that over 6.5. I think I might lean to the under. I think this could be a 3-1, 4-2 game. I don't see this one going. I don't see 7 goals happening in this game. It's tough on a back-to-back for the Sharks, and the Sharks don't have a lot of offense to begin with. So to me, I look at potentially under in this game, but I look at a Kings win and the under, but I like that Kings first period, like you talked about, and like you said, the Sharks have not started well either. The Sharks score a lot of goals in the third period when they're already trailing by 2 or 3 goals and make close games out of it. But the problem with that is you're still not winning the hockey game. So to me, I look at the Kings. I look at if Iafallo's in the lineup, I look at him to get one. I'm on Kings tonight, but I'm looking under for this game.
Yeah, I have been for a better part of the last couple of weeks, certainly since the Christmas break, riding Sharks overs, but I finally lost one last night, and I'm off it tonight because I do feel that we might see a little bit lower scoring in this game tonight, given the situation. And plus the series history, that the recent head-to-head meetings have trended under. 3 of the last 4 between the Sharks and Kings have gone under the total. And I think, and kind of like we talked about with this unbelievable stretch with Edmonton, where, they have been going over after an under. It's been kind of the opposite lately for LA. When they have an over, they've gone under in the next game. And of course, they had a higher scoring affair with the Oilers. Their next game usually goes under, at least of late in that situation. So could see this game definitely staying under the total. I like Kings first period puck line, though, in this one. Again, the Sharks have long-term, beyond the last 3, which the Kings have won head-to-head against the Sharks, each of the last 3. But long-term, the Sharks have done very well against the Kings. Someone in the chat did mention 15-5, the last 20 visits to LA for San Jose. But that's going back a lot further. We've seen the Kings sort of tilt the play in their favor now in this series history in the recent meetings. And keep in mind, the Sharks are 3-6 this year on the second night of back-to-back games. So not great. The record for them in this spot when they're playing back-to-back. So for me, Kings first period puck line, and it looks like Matt's interested in the Kings in some form as well as the under here with San Jose and LA. Prop-wise, just briefly on this one, when you look at the matchup, I think when you look at who's starting to click and who's starting to get things going, Kempe's starting to get going for the Kings. Fiala's had a great stretch. I'm going to back off, pump the brakes on Byfield a little bit because he's been upgraded to the top line. He just hasn't been clicking yet there. It's taken him some time to get, I think, comfortable in the greater amount of minutes that he's getting. So I'm going to probably pump the brakes on his props tonight. Iafallo's a good look, as Matt mentioned, because, a lot of his offensive production has improved significantly over the last few weeks. So definitely a good game for some prop options on the LA side. San Jose Barabanov is the one that I still think remains undervalued for them. If you're going to look at a prop for the San Jose Sharks in in that game. All right, great stuff with Matthew Wright. We will come back in just a second with best bets. A reminder, patreon.com/iceguys as well. Make sure you check out the Patreon page and sign up, just $10 a month, the daily Ice Guys betting card posted there every day. Goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, and more. Patreon.com/iceguys. We'll be back to wrap it up with best bets right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, our good friends at Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, courtesy of the Ice Guys. Get 20% off of any purchase and free worldwide shipping with the promo code Ice Guys. That's promo code Ice Guys, all one word, ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 400 million balls that you can help preserve with manscaped.com using the promo code Ice Guys. You get the Performance Package 4.0. It is a game changer. The Lawnmower 4.0. It takes care of this, among other things. It'll keep you trim as can be. The Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof. Same thing with the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your ear hair, nose hair. I mean, nose hair in particular. You know, I'm getting up there in age, and nose hair is becoming definitely more of an issue. This will take care of it. It feels like someone's tickling the inside of your nostrils sometimes. It pisses the hell out of me. It bothers me. I need to take care of that shit. This will take care of it for you. The Weed Whacker makes part of the package that you get with your Manscaped purchase, and the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You also get the ball toner. You also get the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good and looking good and feeling good down in the nether regions. This package is really going to make you feel good and look good and look better, slim, trim. That's what it's all about. And manscaped.com can help you out with that. So make sure you take advantage of this. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code IceGuys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, it is time for Best Bets here on this Wednesday. Great job by Matt. Once again, his second appearance on the show. Matt, best bet, what do you got?
Tonight, I'm on the under Toronto. Nashville under. Like we said, UC Saros been playing great, especially if Saros starts tonight. I'm on the under. But I also like Tavares to potentially get one for the Leafs. So I'm under in the game, but I'm on Tavares to get one for the Leafs.
All right, there we go. So John Tavares, anytime goal scorer prop. In the plus 200 range or so for the Leafs tonight, and also that under Toronto-Nashville. Nashville-Toronto under 6, minus 115 for Matt Wright, his best bet for this Wednesday card. Yes, Phoenix Copley is confirmed, is likely, and actually Reimer's confirmed. We don't have Phoenix Copley confirmed yet, but I'd be stunned if it's not him. 11-2 this season as a starter for the Kings. He's been absolutely terrific. So Matt Wright looking at the under, and also a bonus goal prop for Tavares in that game. My best bet for this card, it's not my favorite card, but hey, let's swing for the fences. My best bet's going to come from that Nashville-Toronto game as well. Nashville plus 160 against Toronto. I think it's, a very good price for a team that is, look, are they getting outshot, outchanced a little bit in some of these wins they've had? Yes. The Carolina game in particular. But UC Saros is at the top of his game right now. I don't know if he's played two better games in a row than he did against Carolina last week, and then the 3-0 shutout against Ottawa on Monday night. Great goaltending, gives you a chance to win every single night. And you know what these Leaf games against Western Conference opponents in the middle of the week at home sometimes can turn into? These slop fests, these dull games, these games where they go through the motions and the crowd is dead as a doornail. There's no noise going on in that Scotiabank Arena for these midweek games against a team you don't have a traditional rivalry with, and the Leafs could fall victim to that once again here tonight. So Nashville plus 160. The Leafs are always a risk when they're laying this kind of number. So Nashville plus 160 on a roll we'll go with them for a best bet here. Take a shot at a big dog on this Wednesday card. Great stuff, Matt. We'll let you get back to business and work at hand. And not the last time we'll see you on the show, though. We will get you back on at least a handful more times before the end of the season.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate being on today, Ian, and best of luck with everything you have coming on here in the next couple months, and look forward to being on again and looking forward to watching some hockey tonight. So thanks for having me on, and I'm sure we'll do this again down the road.
No doubt. Absolutely. Great stuff from Matt Wright. And a reminder to everyone in the chat, make sure you tune into the show live every single day. The Ice Guys, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. It's funny, someone asks about the next betcast. I was going to save that till tomorrow with Alex being back, but I will announce it now because we've confirmed it. It's going to be Tuesday, January the 24th. That is going to be the next betcast for the Ice Guys, Tuesday, January 24th. So it's not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. That is when we will have our January Ice Guys live betcast. Tuesday, January 24th, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So excited and looking forward to that as always. Those are always a lot of fun. All right, for Matt Wright, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday. Alex B. Smith is back. We've got a great guest, Jordan Kristanovich, joining us as well on the Thursday edition of the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now.